Irvine, followed by both her master and doctorate from Doshisha University in Japan. Together, our panelists will share their experiences building a collaborative partnership centered on disaster resilience, public health, and interdisciplinary research and student engagement. Their story highlights how international partnership can evolve into meaningful long-term collaborations that benefit faculty, students, and institutions alike. We'll follow with some Q&A for our panel. Then following their presentation and Q&A, I'll provide a brief overview of how faculty can invite international scholars through our J-1 visitor program and explain how our global engagement team supports this process from start to finish. Again, as Tanya mentioned, please feel free to submit your questions using the comment section throughout the presentation. If we're unable to answer every question during today's session, our global engagement team will gladly follow up with you afterwards. So, Dr. Yukie, let's go ahead and begin. So every international collaboration has a story, and yours has grown into an impressive partnership spanning multiple institutions and countries. Can you tell us how this collaboration first began and introduce us to the project itself?
Yes, thank you, Yvonne. It's a long story, and it's in a very short time span though. But let us start from maybe where it started. So collaboration actually began through the development of a study abroad program at the Chicago School. But the idea for the program itself grew out of my research and applied work throughout many years of my work. I have been doing the research and consultation work, implementing behavior analysis in a CBS, contextual behavior science, ABA, OBM, and ACT, pro-social model, evolutionary sciences, all those things I was doing, and then developed a special interest group at ABAI called Evolutionary Science as well. And then I thought I wanted to do dissemination work and collaboration work based on all these things. And then the Chicago School provided great opportunities for us to be able to develop the study abroad program. So I put everything in it in my study abroad program. So the Global Engagement Office, Bridget, helped me to start the process. And then at that time, Dr. Breda McGrath was still with us, and she also encouraged me to do all the work. So I just kept going, developing a program, and then I had to look beyond, of course, what I'm comfortable with, because my interest was cultural, behavioral, and public health. And Japanese contingency was so unique, different from the US contingencies. So I came up with many ideas in a study abroad program in Japan with the themes of pro-sociality, cultural health, well-being, public health, all those things. And then I started looking for the collaborators where I can take my students to for collaborative work, lectures and discussions, all those things. And I did some research and I found Shig on a website and the readings of it. And I thought I got drawn into his papers and writing and research. And well, I'm going to reach out to him. So I emailed him. And then he became one of the main collaborators for us to be able to talk to. And he gives us a great lecture every time I take our students to Japan at Doshisha University. And then he connected me to Anna, who is doing amazing work at a Hyogo University, and her department, her research self is so amazing. And then she allowed us to go to her research site, which is a disaster resilience. What was the whole name of it, Anna? Sorry, I cannot just say the whole institute.
You can just call DRI.
DRI, thank you. So I decided to take our students to there. So it started from the study abroad program. And then every year, we actually had twice this far, and hopefully we will have another one this year. And then continue to collaborate with Shig and Anna every year, and the students get to visit them and engage in discussions, all those things. And then after I was doing that, I thought about how can I do more collaboration? I want to bring them over to the States, and then J-1 program. The fund grant application popped up. So I reached out to Yvonne and also reached out to Bridget, and then started conversation. How can I make it happen? And I think this was almost 1.5 year or almost 2 years across conversation, because I was looking at it for too many years, for 2 years probably. And then we made it happen. So one lesson I learned is that international collaboration often begins with shared questions and a meaningful relationships. And the research emerged because of the relationships came first. I think this morning even Shig sent me the email about amazing ideas of the conference presentation and more projects developing in his mind and with his colleagues. So more research or project ideas are emerging from this initiative. So that was from Study Abroad program and J-1 program as well. I hope I answered the question.
You did an amazing job at that, definitely. It always fascinates me to hear how these collaborations begin, because many faculty members have similar ideas but aren't always sure how to take that first step. And your story really shows how one connection can grow into an impactful international partnership, because everything has developed, just one thing led to another, and it's just like a little trickle effect. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. So what made you realize that the potential had become something much larger than, just one thing? Was it just, organic, everything just seemed to flow together? And was there anything that said, that stood out, that said, hey, let's go ahead and take that next step to invite them over?
It was actually organically developed, and the Chicago School and the system itself provides these opportunities for the grants. All those funds come. So I just kind of reached out to our offices, global engagement, and then Yvonne, you, and then started having a conversation more and more. And also, I took advantage of the faculty internationalization grant as well. So that was used for another collaboration with different in different area in Japan too. But I took advantage of that time I was able to be in Japan and met. I think one time I asked Shig and Anna to come to a station to meet with me out of nowhere to further engage in a discussion of, hey, can we actually use this ACT pro-social, or at that time I did not say the pro-social model, but more OBM type, or hinting this pro-social model conversation, because I know they were doing more disaster resilience, which is a cultural changes, because collaboration is a key. So just in vivo jumping on and grabbing those opportunities for conversation. And I have been very lucky that Shig and Anna are so flexible. And then when I say, hey, can I actually talk a little? And they are just like, yeah, sure. So that was so nice.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So now that we understand how the partnership began, let's expand to that, talk a little bit more about the project itself. Could you tell us more about the Disaster Resilience Initiative and why this work is especially relevant in today's world?
Well, thank you for the question. I'll leave many of the specifics of the disaster resilience research to Shig and Anna, because those are very specifically to their expertise. But from my perspective as a behavior scientist, what makes this work so important is that disasters can happen anywhere, at any time, and anywhere. And as a matter of fact, we had a huge earthquakes hit in Japan, northern Japan area yesterday, and now we have the big typhoons and rainy seasons hitting. So many things are happening in Japan and here in America or any part of the world too. So while we often think about the recovery after the disaster occurs, prevention and preparedness and early intervention are equally important. And at the end of the day, disaster resilience is really important. It's all about people and communities, and that's what we do. So during my study abroad program visit later through travel supported by the Chicago School FIG grant, I had opportunities to share my work, all these things. Again, all this conversation about why that disaster resilience matters, I think I'm going to save the whole big essences to be discussed by Shig and Anna, if it's okay with you.
Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate your perspective. So, and what it meant to you. I really do appreciate you giving us that insight as well. So a lot of meaningful outcomes have come from this, and like you mentioned, it transcends into other areas. So it sounds like the partnership has created value far beyond, just research projects. It's really fostered into lasting relationships among faculty, and I'm sure students too. So on that personal note, how has working with international scholars influenced you as a researcher and an educator?
Well, in a very meaningful way. I can say, well, to begin with, I grew up in Japan and I'm working here in America. And then, I do have maybe different backgrounds, but here in America, many people are from different countries too. So we are so supposed to be immersed to, this international society, but it's not the case. And doing the work with my local collaborators. So this picture shows our visit to Pacific Oaks College. So which was an amazing collaboration. And I think became possible because of this J-1 and FIG and international collaboration topic was so reinforcing and then appetitive to many scholars and researchers at that site. And so J-1 opportunity really opened the doors for me to do more local collaborations too, because I didn't think about it. Right. So that was a very important. And now the conversation is growing because Dr. McGrath and Dr. Rodriguez in the MFT department program chair are willing to do more work with us and want to collaborate, and that's how we want to be passionate about, and that leads to student impact too. Students can continue collaborating across different disciplines and internationally, and that's what we are aiming to do more. And the faculty networking is very important. So
that's great. Thank you so much, Dr. Yukie. Your experiences really demonstrate how meaningful international partnerships can enrich research, education, and student learning. So yeah, definitely. Let's go ahead and invite Dr. Shig to share his perspective on the collaboration from the partner institution. So Dr. Shig, from your perspective, what makes an international academic partnership truly successful?
For me, successful international academic partnership is not one way. It's not one-way transfer of knowledge, which we call a deficit model. Somebody has knowledge, provide the knowledge to those who do not. That doesn't generally work. The successful partnership is reciprocal and open. Both sides bring something valuable, and both sides are changed through the collaboration. And I actually experiencing this change or the new learning thanks to Dr. Yukie.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
That's a proof that this collaboration is very successful.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so from one of the wonderful aspects of international collaboration is that everyone learns from one another, like you just mentioned. It's that reciprocal learning.
Mhm.
So, have you personally learned, what have you personally learned from collaborating with your colleagues on this project?
Pro-social act, which I've never heard. And that plays a major sort of a cornerstone idea of my new grant proposals and conference session proposals, as I just sent invitation to the new session proposal and begging two of my colleagues, to submit the proposal. Um, this is really new way. So far, the key solution to make people work together is the concept of collaboration. We knew that, and we have developed the way to motivate people to think rather than in your own box, but if you expand that box, including everybody, and then further, instead of one group, extend that box uh, to cover all the groups. We knew the concept, and then we knew how to motivate people to think or reframe uh, one's own perspective. But until I met Dr. Yuki, we were not aware how much new development has been taking place in the field of applied behavior analysis and evolutionary science. And I just grabbed this idea. Actually, using her, knowledge and skills, and I actually consulted with her. I just ran the dry rehearsal of Act Metrics workshop 2 days ago in Tokyo. So this is great. And then also pro-social incorporate the Eleanor Ostrom's concept of core design principles. And this is another way of explaining what makes people work together. And Anna's dissertation project actually really utilize this core design principle idea. We have been studying in a sort of a framework of so-called social capital approach. And social capital approach is if you have high social capital, people cooperate. Okay, so but it's a very reciprocal argument. People cooperate because there's high social capital. High social capital environment, people cooperate. There's no cause and effect. And when we learned core design principle, Eleanor Ostrom says there are 8 principles to make the commons collaboratively governed. And this is actually what Anna found. Her dissertation topic is if local people collaborate in 5 different approaches, that would enrich the social capital in the community. So the Eleanor Ostrom's idea actually expanded the way we explain the things. And so I really indebted for this encounter with Dr. Yuki and the Chicago School providing us this opportunity.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all that. This really sounds like this collaboration helped shape your professional growth in this project also. You've had an opportunity to work with both Japanese and US academic environments and many others because I've seen your CV. It's quite impressive. So thank you so much for involving us. What similarities and differences have you observed in how other countries approach disaster resilience education and research?
By resilience, people basically talk about two different things. And in the case of Japan, resilience means to build back better. So it's more engineering oriented. And if the bridge is broken or damaged, then fix it. And then resilience mostly means for the engineers, fix it better. But that's only, from my viewpoint, it's just one way to see things. And U.S. Researchers on resilience, of course, focuses on this fixing part. But there is another stream of thought about what the resilience is all about. Like, yeah, you can fix the broken bridge, but how can you fix your life when your loved ones are taken away? There's no old happiness coming back to you. But then U.S. researchers, especially in the psychosocial helping field, they point out that the meaning of your experiences, and if you can identify the reason or meaning of your own sort of a calamity, and this meaning seeking or struggle for meaning could help you to reframe your horrible experiences into something positive, meaningful, which is like, what is my mission in my life after I lost my loved ones? So those kind of paths of resilience we call transformative adaptation. And U.S. side has more researchers and more practitioners paying attention to this adaptation, transformative adaptation. So yes, we are looking at the same concept or phenomena, but the approach is different. And then by collaborating, we can learn from each other.
Yes, that's amazing. I'm so glad you said that, because that just strengthens that argument that each country brings more to that conversation
Yeah.
and more to the table to work on and learn from
Yeah.
each other. So I do appreciate you sharing that observation. So
One more thing,
sure,
if I
go
may.
for it.
Anna and I are in the field of so-called mega disaster research. And by mega disaster, we define the event that killed more than 5,000 people.
Wow.
And in post-war Japan, there are only 3 mega disasters. 1959 Ise typhoon, 95 Kobe earthquake, and 2011 Great East Japan earthquake. Only 3 mega disasters. And 2005, US was hit by Katrina and caused it was a mega disaster. So because it's a rare, high intensity event, we cannot just focus on Japan, or US researchers cannot focus on in your own country because of the rare incidents of this event. So from that ground too, it really makes sense to collaborate and share knowledge and ideas.
Absolutely. Let's not wait until the disaster actually happens. Let's, act and learn from, other events. So, definitely that's important in studying disasters from a global perspective rather than a single country. So, how does international research in this field improve the quality or an impact of scientific findings that you found in your research,
Right.
working with on this particular project?
Right. My original training is not in sociology. My very first master's degree is applied behavior analysis and in the field of parent training using operant conditioning ideas. And then the great discovery in terms of methodology is rather than focusing on many, many subjects, but spend many, many hours to one subject that is called N=1 design, and just keeping up with the behavior of one particular subject. And that can tell you the trajectory of the changes that occurs in one subject. And so since then, I have really become a true believer of so-called longitudinal type of research. And since the 1995 Kobe earthquake, I conducted a 10-year-long three-wave longitudinal or panel study and created the longitudinal data set. And after 2011 Great East Japan earthquake, I also conducted the 10-year project, again, 5 waves, and in which Dr. Anna really worked the guts out. And so we have 2 data sets, and then we really wanted the validity of or external validity of our findings. And then we discovered there is US researchers who started longitudinal studies of the the disaster survivors in the US. So we collaborated internationally because mega disaster occurs very rarely. And longitudinal study cost quite a bit of money and quite a bit of a commitment. And so we can zoom into the depths of our data set, but it's like digging a hole deep and deep, but we cannot be really sure what we are finding can be validated by the similar longitudinal study. So because of the rarity of the event and because it's so expensive to do the panel or longitudinal study, it really makes sense to collaborate and exchange. And hopefully we will have a sort of a standardized common scale set. And then from next event, we could use this collaboration-based common item scale set. That's what I'm very much interested in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that all. Is there anything else that you want to add about the work or your experiences while visiting any of the campuses or, working with Dr. Yukie and Dr. Anna together?
I had an opportunity, thanks to you, J-1 visitor program. I had an opportunity to talk with the Chicago school student because it was their residency period. But it was coincidence that I mentioned the importance of the causal inferencing, cause and effect. And the best and simplest, most straightforward way to identify cause and effect is through randomized control design, RCT. However, RCT is doable with rats and pigeons, but RCT for human beings is very, very difficult, and sometimes it's very unethical to do so. And so the technology advanced, and I just explained why I am pro longitudinal data is by using longitudinal data, there is a statistical way to remove so-called confounding factor. And I just drew the concept on a whiteboard. And somehow the Chicago School PhD student were very, very keen and lean forward to learn because just a class before that was about the quantitative method and then how to uh, uh, make sure that a causal inference is valid. So I just found, so this kind, maybe I can offer this kind of the reasoning and then why we need to rely on the causal inference and quantitative method. That will probably validate clinical insight. So those are new experiences for me because I don't have much opportunity to talk with students. I usually do conference presentations. So that was refreshing.
That's wonderful. And thank you. It sounds like you learned a lot and you taught a lot while you were there. So that sounds great. So, the key overall that you kept mentioning was collaboration. And, that collaboration is built on mutual learning and shared expertise. So thank you so much. I'd like to go ahead and invite Dr. Anna to share her experiences and reflections on this international partnership. I guess your work highlights another important outcome. So definitely, let's go ahead. And so, Dr. Anna, how has participating in this international partnership strengthened your own work as a researcher and educator?
Okay, so first, this partnership has strengthened both my research and also my teaching in the University of Hyogo. So, like from my research perspective, actually I'm working both disaster and criminology part in my research field, and it gave me an opportunity to look at my work for a much broader international perspective. Like my usual research focuses on the community level. So in that case, I usually focuses on Japanese community for both crime prevention and disaster resilience. But in the Japan, I have mainly studied in the Japanese case study in Kobe City or Kyoto City. So through discussion with the kind of different academic and cultural background person, I began to think about my research within the broader context of crime prevention and disaster resilience, community recovery, and social inclusion are kind of more new to my ideas. And as a result, I now see more kind of crime prevention and disaster research, not simply at the maintaining public safety, but as a part of the rebuilding the community and strengthening the resilience both way. And that has helped me to organize and refine my research in a more comprehensive way. And about my teaching part, already the Professor Yukie says that she brought her students into my institution as a part of this collaboration. So we organize. Actually, I said I put some non-profit free English seminar to my students, and without I mean the outside of my school teaching time. and for our students to help them to discuss research in English and communicate with international scholars. At first, because Japanese students are really shy, and then they learn how to write and read in English from the junior high school, but they usually not so learn into how to speak in English. So first, my students felt really nervous and talking in speaking English and or presenting their research in internationally. But I keep continue those free English seminar like almost 1 year, and they are start after the participating those activities. I really feel they were changed. So students really become more confident and more willing to communicate in English and more motivated to present at international conference and collaborate with researchers from the other country. So for me, one of the greatest achievement of this partnership has been not only advancing our my own research, but also helping prepare the next generation of the researchers and work in an international environment, I think.
Awesome. Dr. Anna, one of the most important roles we have in higher education is preparing the next generation of leaders, researchers, global citizens. Students are truly the future of international research and collaboration, those that we're teaching. So you had the opportunity to speak at the Collaborative Community Talk hosted by Pacific Oaks and the Chicago School, where you engaged directly with students and faculty. From your perspective, what role do you see students playing in advancing global research collaboration? What type of advice do you think you can provide, as far as getting into, or why it's so important to go into this field?
Of course, it is valuable for students to participate in the research project itself because it's going to help them to experience what is actually the research. But even more importantly, international collaboration gives them more opportunity to experience different culture and perspective and ways of thinking in the especially the not only but especially the disaster research there is literally a single correct answer. So different countries have a different system, culture, and experiences. So people often approaches the same problem, but they have to find a solution in a different way. So learning to understand and appreciate those differences is an important part of the becoming both a researcher and a professional. Because my school is only the graduate schools, and I should say almost half of my students is came directly after graduated undergrad, but half of my students are already work. Uh, it depends the local municipality officer or teacher or maybe other kind of NPO, NGOs, wherever. But they already know the how the society is going to be affected by the disaster, and then they really get into the problem they were really concerned. So in the case, the teacher role, the important teacher role is to try to broaden their perspective and uh, involving their thinking into more kind of diverse and then
Mhm.
more professional way. So I believe this is becoming increasingly important for especially Japanese society because in the future we will continue to become more culturally diverse as more international residents choose to live in Japan and work in here. So that means we will have more opportunity, but also more challenges and communicate across different culture and values. So if students gain these experiences earlier in their education, they will be much better prepared to work in diverse community throughout their careers. And uh, I talked at the Pacific Oaks, and I heard Pacific Oaks is really focuses on the children's education. And I've been to the children's school. It's kind of next to the actually the Pacific Oaks,
Right.
and yeah, I really see there are so many different ethnicity background childrens are like study and also they're talking and then play together, and that's the for me, it's totally American culture things. It not so, yeah, it's increasing right now in Japan, but not that level right now. So, but we think, I think that's going to be like our futures, like style in the child education, and I think we can learn more from that kind of children's school and like how they going to naturally learn the difference and diverse during their childhood, and that's going to make society more colorful and um, how can I say, more cheerful and then more innovative, I think.
Right.
So
Thank you.
yeah, I think the international collaboration is not the kind of producing the more better research, but also like more powerful educational opportunity to develop kind of globally minded professional and future leaders.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So one of the themes we've heard consistently is that international collaboration isn't just about the research. It's about building these relationships, learning from each other, creating opportunities, and just absorbing everything. Just it's great. Many of these opportunities are made possible through programs like our J-1 exchange visitor program. Dr. Yukie, going back to you, we talked a little bit about how this collaboration began and the important research taking place and all the learning. But I want to step back and look at the big picture, and it's that impact beyond the research itself and looking at who else has benefited from the partnership. Looking at these different areas of impact is evident that this collaboration has a great influence on and fostered collaboration across our institutions. And, I just love that cross affiliation between the schools that you all brought in. One of our missions is creating transformational experiences for our students. So, from your view, you know, I can see students have benefited from this collaboration, both sides. What skills do students gain really when they engage with international scholars, such as Dr. Anna and Dr. Shig, and global research projects like this?
Well, it depends on how you provide the context to the students, that's for sure. So it's really up to our faculty members how we present and set up the events and then prepare them for those experiences too. So my experience started with a study program which focuses on pro-sociality and cultural health, public health, and that is a lot of perspective. That setup really helped them to become a really good listener to others and also to themselves. That was a focus of the 7 weeks learning before they actually travel. They have to be able to do perspective takings on others and also themselves, how you are responding to it. How are you going to willing to be collaborating with individuals with different cultural background and rules that they have, because it's totally different from the ones we have in America. but it might not be new. It might not be new if you look at the generations. Your grandparents might be actually talking and behaving like the ones in the different countries, right? So that setup was really important, and then keep opening their flexibility, psychological and behavioral flexibility, is very important for us to do. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to spotlight on one person, but I want to say there's one student who participated in the study abroad program, the first one to Japan. And then she's in this room right now. Hopefully to mention that. Jerica, you hear me? And she actually enjoyed the program so much, and the collaboration that we had was Shig and Anna and other collaborators in Japan. And then she decided to move on and apply to our PhD level programs. Hope it's okay to say that.
Amazing. That impact.
Yeah, and I have written so many recommendations for those students who actually got interacted with these researchers from other countries, thanks to the programs opportunities that Chicago School, the system provides the faculty members such as me to do for them. And then I wrote a recommendation letters, and they are moving on to a PhD level research or learning. So that's huge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for explaining that. So looking ahead, I can see this partnership is going to keep continuing and continuing, because you've already, all discussed that, hey, we're going to look at this, we're going to look at that. And, I do appreciate that. It looks like, we could keep going on and on and on, but, we do realize that there's a Japanese soccer game going on. That we all discussed about. Dr. Yukie has shared her Kind Global Lab website with us that they're putting in the chat, and it is on the screen. It really sounds like there's going to be a lot of things that are going to come up in the future. So I really appreciate you all sharing. I know that we are running behind, so I want to make enough time to go over a little bit of our J-1 program. So if we have faculty in here, or they're going to be listening to the recording, they're going to be able to get some information and be able to tie back to us. But I do want to give some time to also extend my sincere thanks to Dr. Shig and Dr. Anna for sharing your experiences and perspectives. And it's so inspiring to hear how this collaboration began and how it's grown and where it's going to go in the future. I can't wait. Maybe we may have another Globe Talk in another year that's going to be exploring something else that y'all are taking part in. So that would be amazing. But I do want to open it up. Are there any questions in the chat before we move on to the other items? Or if you have any questions, if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, we can take you off mute and ask the questions.
I see the one question on the chat from the user.
Yeah, thank you for your question. You see it, Yvonne?
Yes, it says, and it is from Jose. When I traveled to Sendai, Japan in 14, we went to ground zero of where the tsunami hit. In ground zero, we learned that the kids and the teacher at the elementary had strapped themselves with a rope onto the ceiling, which unfortunately was tragic. Have these protocols been updated since the tragedy?
Let me respond to this question.
Perfect.
There's one elementary school in Ishinomaki City that was also actually there's no one particular ground zero. We have arrays of ground zeros along the sea coast. And one elementary school, it's a tragedy. And then to me, this situation is a metaphoric expression. And what actually happened is in this particular elementary school, all the kids after the shaking gathered on the school ground, and they were told to stay there because the principal could not come back or could not communicate to the school staffs. So until principal comes and tell kids and teachers what to do, they were in a way strapped on the ground. And that caused more than 30 or nearly 40 deaths among children and school teachers. And what lesson this brought is that there are two types of way to deal with the crisis situation in terms of the organizationally speaking. One is command and control. And so you have a very pyramid-like one-way command control direction, top to bottom. And in this case, this elementary school lacked the incident commander, and they were just told to stay. And then through this experience, what we learned is in most cases, command and control doesn't work. So what works is decentralized, divergent, and more emergent type of responses where so-called agency in each kid is highly valued. So rather than one person thinking and tell the rest what to do, it makes more sense and it's more resilient that everybody has agency and help to think the crisis situation by themselves and collaborate among the agencies to choose the appropriate action. So this is, and then one more thing, this event was a very rare exceptional case. The rest of the elementary schools and junior high school, kindergarten, daycares, kids were saved because of the improvisations by staff members and children.
Thank you. Thank you so much for answering that. If you have any other questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I know, again, we are running behind, we will pass those on to our panelists so they can reach out to you directly. We'll be able to provide some contact information for all of our panelists. But I do want to thank you again. And I wanted to just spend a little last few minutes just to talk about how the J-1 sponsorship works. We just heard from one faculty member and her amazing panel that how it started with one idea, but here at the Community Solution Education System, we are authorized by the U.S. Department of State with Bridge USA sponsorship, which means we can invite and host international professors, researchers, specialists, and students from around the world. This allows us to support that collaboration, just like the one you've heard about just now, whether your goal is research, teaching, grant development, student engagement, or building long-term institutional partnerships. Just please connect with us. Faculty often ask me what hosting a scholar actually looks like. Sometimes it starts with a guest lecture, a contact, a joint research. Other times it leads, it's starting or leading from grant funding, student exchanges, or professional relationship. So just know every partnership looks a little different, but remember the goal for our exchange is getting from connections to global impact. The key word here is exchange, as you've heard so much, that there was that exchange of learning. It's not one-sided. We're not just simply inviting scholars here. We're building relationships where knowledge, ideas, and culture flow in both directions. There are a lot of different categories in the J-1 sponsorship, but at the Community Solutions, I've highlighted 4 that every category here is available across our affiliates, across our system. So please, I invite you to reach out to us. That way we can go a little bit more in detail. So I can see what your vision is, and we can hopefully build that into reality. We'll be able to provide you with a lot more information and show you the path. And remember, we're going to let you focus on that collaboration, and we're going to focus on the compliance part of it. So again, please reach out to us. We'll go over a lot of the path and the steps. And as Dr. Yukie mentioned, it was a long process, but look how much that they did. Look how much is coming in the future with the work that was able to come from this partnership. So global engagement partners with you again throughout this whole process, and it doesn't just end at the end of when they go back on the flight. So, we're still going to be able to be connecting. We're still having that discussion. To sum up, if you can answer these 7 questions, who is a scholar, activities, funding, come to us. We'll narrow it down whether a J-1 program is possible. Just know there's quite a bit more than let's just explore the option together, but we're going to work through it together. I want to share what's possibly my favorite part of this entire J-1 exchange visitor program, because research projects, publications, and classroom collaboration are all incredibly valuable, but some of the most meaningful partnerships don't happen in the classroom. In today's digital world, it's easy to connect through email and Zoom and Teams, but there's something special about being together in person. Those shared experiences create lasting relationships that often continue long after the visit has ended for our visitors. You see that right now. Global partnerships aren't built through research alone. They're built through shared experiences, meaningful conversations, and conversations, that you weren't even expecting. One thing led to another. And they're also built occasionally at a baseball game. So I'm really happy that you were able to take part in a lot of different events. But sometimes the most important thing we can exchange and isn't research, it's perspective. And we were able to witness that. So that J-1 exchange visitor program is really about bringing people together, fostering that mutual understanding, and creating relationships that inspire learning, innovation, and lasting global partnerships. So thank you all today. I'm sorry I kept you 2 minutes after, but today's presentation began with one faculty member who had an idea, and that became an international partnership, and that partnership became research, and it became opportunities and friendships, I'm sure, and it became the story that we shared with you today. So on top of all those things I listed, they're also, trying to save the world. They're superheroes to me. So they are all amazing. I appreciate all of you. I appreciate you for joining us. And if you ever thought about inviting an international colleague or exploring research partnership or simply starting that conversation, Global Engagement is here to help. We look forward to partnering with you. And while we've run short on time, please feel free to email us with a time where we can explore these opportunities together, because we're really excited about learning and growing this into something more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all so very much on behalf of the Community Solution Global Engagement Department. Really, really wonderful presentation. Really wonderful to see the partnerships in action. And yeah, as Yvonne mentioned, if anybody is interested in more information, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you all so much. Good luck to all of your World Cup teams. Go Japan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day or your evening ahead. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.